This is the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast.
But yeah, so let's dig right into the full episode instead of the short that was before it.
Oh my god, episode 3. There's so much to happen.
So this is where we left Nynaeve, which is getting dragged by her braid.
And her very first action is to play it cool and play dead.
Yep. Yeah, she's got her eyes open. And that Trolloc goes over to the other one for some serious cannibalism.
Ooh, it's nasty. They really like entrails in this show. This was a great scene exemplifying how much they like entrails as a special effect.
And I just want to point out how strong her braid is, that she's being dragged by it and like her entire skull, and it's not being ripped out or, coming undone or anything like that.
It's a pretty badass braid. But yeah, I love that she wakes up being drugged by her braid and is like, first, I'm going to just hang limp and assess what's happening. Most people would wake up and freak out. She waits until this moment before she freaks out. And then her freak out is to run the fuck away.
Which is the right thing to do. Well, yeah, so she's just absolutely like, oh, that's bad. But I thought it was cool to show that the two Trollocs will eat each other. If you have a wounded Trolloc, one will absolutely eat the other one. They are not willing to take care of each other, and they will eat anything.
Which is surprising because the way it goes over at first, it almost looks like it's going to offer aid, or it's like expressing concern or sympathy or empathy, and it's actually sniffing for a snack. Like, they really, I think, made us question that. And it's just like, is there actually a redeemable side? Are there actually human souls? Nope. No, there are not. I love the music, and I love that she only falls once in a very believable way. So many things, it's like people are like just stumbling over themselves and over every little thing, and it's just very much like you have a 5-foot studio to run around in, so you're going to stumble a bunch, and it's annoying. Like, she trips over one rock. It's very believable.
One of my favorite little bits from behind the scenes is just how physical she was with this thing, and how like they were filming her by having a car driving backwards, and she was outrunning the cart. And they were like, you need to slow down a little bit. Like, we can't go any faster.
She is right.
You're like, yeah. There was like, she was like, her physicality is absurd for these stunts and the stuff she's doing. And it shows. You can see she's very physical in these scenes. I love it.
God, that is so Nynaeve of her.
Yeah.
And then I feel like she's running through the woods like, what do I do? What do I do? And then her feet take her somewhere familiar.
Yeah, I wonder that, yes, but I think she also realizes where she is and has a plan of like, I can hide in the pools, right? That's a place where... I
think she's figuring that out as she runs.
Okay.
Her feet are like, go somewhere safe. She's like, yeah, that is a good idea. I can think of something like, you can just see her brain working as she runs. So this is the shot of Nynaeve that we got as a teaser of her. I mean, we got braid flip first.
Yes.
We had the whole braid flip event first, and then we got the scene with the braid flip, and now we're finally getting the context under which that scene happens.
And she hides in the pool for a while.
This guy decides to take a nice little bath because it's a hot springs, and clearly one should do that. Also, these guys are horrifying. I love that they took that long shot.
Definitely.
Those blue eyes and the teeth and the...
This is masterful horror. This is really like a little horror movie attached to the beginning of this episode. And like this, like, is he gonna stab her? Where is she? We can't see her. And then she becomes the monster, right? That's what I love about that, is like she's the one rising up from underneath the water. And she becomes the danger.
She's using the terrain because this is her woods. This is her pool. Like, you come into my place.
And I love the way they use her hair to rise up and look sort of like there's this cresting like creature coming up out of the water. I was like, holy shit, Nynaeve's the scary one in this situation.
It's trapped in here with her.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I have to wonder with like, Nynaeve, the character, as well as Zoe Robbins's performance, is either completely terrified and out of her depth or completely focused. And I can't help but wonder if she's meditating in such a way that she could channel if she knew what she was doing at this point. If she's in that focused, rose blackthorn bush kind of space, because how else could she be this calm? She's like a warder who knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
But she's her intensity.
You know my theory? She's pissed the Trolloc fouled her sacred pool.
It's not about her life anymore. It's about the pool.
You got in the pool? Like, she was scared. She was terrified until he stepped into the pool. And then
you
focused
come into
and angry.
my sacred hot springs. Yeah. Yes, which is very her. Her protectiveness overrides her self-preservation.
Absolutely.
Like, every time.
Right, so I'm trying to think, what's she protecting? And she's not protecting herself. It's the sacred pool, the holy thing that she was extremely protective of when Moraine walked into that area. The holy pool.
The Fang.
Yeah. But I think it has a special significance because it is in the Wisdom's holy pool, right? That is why the interaction of probably maybe something to do with Saidar and the pool interacting.
Like she's gonna cleanse the pool of the corruption that has been introduced to it. Or something.
But that's maybe why it forms the Fang, right? That you have this corruption of the Trolloc fighting the holiness of the pool for a second, and you form what is, that push and pull that is the Saidin Saidar.
I love it.
Yeah.
I hadn't even thought of the pool as having like actual like sacred properties in that way, but I love that. I was just really caught up in how she is so cool as she ducks under the arm and then stabs it, and then when it lifts her up, then she screams in terror. Like, I'm just so caught up in the intensity of her performance. I didn't even.
And the way she uses her weight as it lifts up instead of falling off of it, which may have like allowed it to pull it out, she pulled herself up on the sword and drove it down in order to really enforce that wound and make sure that Trolloc died. Like, she used her body weight to drive that sword in.
She's terrified, and she's taking it down regardless.
Yes.
She's so brave. Nynaeve, you're the bravest.
They're really making Nynaeve out to be even more badass than she is in the books, which is difficult.
Right? But Braid Flip is a defiant brain tug.
Totally. And then the intro, which we talked about in the previous episode. So we are going to skip it, even though it is beautiful.
Oh, it's so gorgeous. But yeah, it's unnecessary at this time. Lan's like, I am so turned on right now.
Yeah, his focus is, how did you find me? Like, that's the only question he has for her, is how. Which we still haven't gotten an answer to yet.
Yeah. I have one more point about wet Nynaeve, Braid Flip Nynaeve. Can we just have a moment to say thank you for having a woman who is absolutely soaking wet and completely non-sexualized by it? Just fucking beautiful that, she's soaking wet, but we are not having a wet t-shirt contest. We are just Braid Flip.
It's interesting. Nynaeve has not been sexualized, despite much more relationship building with her and Lan. I have no idea what her body looks like. I know more about what Egwene's body looks like than Nynaeve. She's been very covered up. Even in that scene, like, she was wearing a lot of clothing. There was, absolutely zero body-rificness.
Yeah. And it's, with Egwene, it didn't even feel sexualized because it was just appropriate to the scene.
Yeah, it was.
And it wasn't super focused on, but it was like, that was a scene where in a normal horror movie, you'd have the shirt half coming off and hard nipples and her underwear showing through. I mean, that's horror.
Right.
That's a horror movie heroine crawling out of the bathtub after killing the murderer. Not this woman. Thank you, Rafe. Thank you, everyone. But yeah, I just remembering to look at my notes. I was like, oh, right, that's an important point.
That's he's done a really good job of capturing the feel of Nynaeve and Lan as, like, parents flirting. It's like the last thing I ever want to see them do is have sex, because, like, I'm really happy they're getting together, but please, I don't need to see that. Like, which is so funny because I know, like, everyone's thirsting over them, but there's this feel of, like, oh, I hope they work out. Oh.
Yeah, it's I love the development of their relationship. There's a lot to get into with that. But right here, Lan is like, I am half terrified and half aroused, and that is fully arousing. Because it's Lan.
And so there's a bit of back and forth between them.
It's you know nothing, and they're coming for your friends. We now know it's her holding the knife.
Right. We speculated if it was who the hell that was. If it was one of the guys, yeah. I think Nene was on the list.
Oh, she was, but not for me.
Yeah.
I saw that after we made a video. And then when he walks towards her with his neck is just like titanium gonads, my man.
He just doesn't think she's gonna kill him.
And then she fucking does. And he's like,
that right there.
That is the moment you know they're gonna get married. That right there when he's like, "You tried to kill me." They're gonna get married.
That right there. Better relationship than Twilight.
So much better. But I love his surprise. I love that he actually doesn't believe it and is truly surprised by her.
And yet
I think
still,
that's why
no problem
works.
avoiding it. Even though he's got a blade in his throat, she does pull back the thrust.
It's because she pulls back.
Yeah.
Because she's not a trained fighter. That's something that my sensei always yell at me about. Is you don't wind up. That is the number one. Don't wind up.
I also don't think she necessarily wanted to kill him, to be perfectly honest with you.
I think she wanted to threaten him, which was the same thing as trying to kill him.
It was a realistic attempt, but it wasn't... It's one of those things where I'm pretty sure you can evade this type situation. Where I don't know. I saw that pullback as some people are like, oh, it's just I don't know. That's a debate to me, is whether she intended to give him time to get out of the way or not.
I don't think she did. As someone who has attempted to train with weapons in a martial arts context, I think that was her noob mistake because she is all fire and no training.
Gotcha.
And I think that's why Lan is so surprised, is because he's like, you actually tried. Like, obviously you couldn't succeed, but like, you just made a rookie mistake trying to actually kill me. Like, okay. And then he gives her a fantasy knockout, which is impossible, but...
Right, the boot to the back of the head that just is the Vulcan neck pinch of TV that we all just accept as something that happens on TV. And it happens a ton in the books.
It's
my favorite scene in the books is when Elaine gets her fucking skull cracked.
And Nynaeve is flipping out because she's dying of a concussion.
Right, and it's like, that's what should happen every time someone gets a fucking sword or a rock to the back of the head and gets knocked out. Like, it's like one of those things where it's, Batman doesn't kill henchmen, but he leaves them with crippling injuries for the rest of their life. But
I'll forgive him doing it here because it's canon to the genre.
It is.
So.
It is.
Fine. And she bites him. Right, that's why he knocks her out. Is he's like, I'm just gonna show you how much of a good warrior I am. And she bites. She never gives up. She does not surrender.
No, never surrender, never give up.
All I have to say about this is that they're going uphill while Perrin and Egwene are going on the flatland, so you can tell they're going in literally the opposite directions of each other.
Right. And they're climbing over a ridge, which is totally separated. Yeah, because Egwene and Perrin are on the Carline grass, which is flat.
These guys go in the totally different directions. They're all trying to head east, but they're on very, very different geomorphological landscapes. Very different landscapes, very different terrain.
It's northeast versus southeast.
Right.
Caroline Grass is northeast. These mountains are southeast, and that's how they're running into Breen Spring.
Right, and so this, just to digress into navigation, knowing your north-south is much easier, or knowing where you are on the north-south axis is much harder than knowing where you are on the east-west axis. Mm-hmm. This is the big innovation that let Vikings get to England was figuring out how to measure their latitude. Like, that is really hard to do. You can tell where you are with respect to east and west because of sunrise and sunset, but knowing where you are with respect to north, the North Star doesn't really move.
Right.
So you don't really know where you are from one day to the next with respect to north. Like,
so it's all about the fact that we're spinning on our north-south axis, so that is just like, you don't know how far away from it is. Whereas if the east-west stars are going to circle us, and so you can see how big those circles are, and that tells you how far east-west you are.
Yeah, so it's very challenging to work that out for something like ship navigation if you don't have tools. And we see our characters here, they don't know where they're trying to go, so they don't even have the issue of not having the right tools. But if they knew where they were trying to go, they still don't necessarily have the right tools to execute that maneuver.
They need that clock from the mantle of the inn.
Don't think a clock would help.
Well, isn't that how you, in shipping, if you can keep accurate time, you can...
That is a thing later on. What you really need is you need a stick that goes straight up and makes a shadow. And then you measure how long the shadow is at noon. So the clock helps, but you can also track when the sun hits its apex in the sky, and that's basically noon. The length of the shadow... why am I forgetting the name of this tool? It's not a sextant. It's before sextants.
Anyway, it's like
navigation's fun.
Yeah, they don't have to navigate. All roads lead to Tarvalon.
All roads lead to Rome.
Yeah, that's what I love that they adapt that saying. That's just like, that's direct. All roads lead to Rome. Rome is Tarvalon, like center of the world when it was the Roman Empire. Tarvalon's the center of the world now. Like, that's...
I mean, the Amerlin See, the Holy See, like, come on, like the Lady Pope, the Magic Pope, like that's who the Amerlin is.
And we've compared the Amerlin to the Pope. The raising of the Amerlin, we've compared to the Pope being raised and the selecting a new Pope.
Yeah, no, there's so many parallels there.
Absolutely.
So many. And there's a couple of other cool moments in this scene, for sure, like focusing on Matt's dagger at one point.
Ooh.
Pretty interesting. But first, Matt comforting Rand is just sob-worthy. Their relationship set up, it kills me.
And they're really set up.
Right there. Look at that. Look at that focus on what's right next to his right hand. They lingered on his right hip for a long moment there, and that's where he draws the dagger from later.
And that's where Rand is walking away from him. And this is where he just wants to go home, right? He's sort of in that give-up depression phase.
Yeah, it's funny, too, because Matt in the books doesn't want to go home. No. Like, the way they've changed Matt's backstory totally changes the Matt relationship to going home, because like each of the three boys has their relationship. Matt's vector has completely flipped 180.
Well, for him, it's all about
which
his
is
sisters.
Fascinating to watch. Yeah, it's just wild to be like, this is a Matt who wishes he could go home but can't, as opposed to book Matt who never wants to go home and doesn't.
And so then we get to this scene which is actually directly from the books. This is them. I mean, it's after they wash out of the river, but the lighting of the fire.
It's a composition of two different scenes.
Yes. Which
Again,
is
one of those things where
lot.
Rafe didn't have to... Yeah, he didn't have to make up any new content. He just had to recompile the content that existed for a faster story. Because in the books, right, these two scenes happen separately. And there's no wolves on their tail.
So which two scenes are you talking about? The lighting of the fire?
Well, the time that Egwene actually lights a fire is without Perrin.
Okay.
And the time that they're lighting a fire together, there's no pressure from the wolves.
Right.
So it's a compilation of bits and pieces. Because there's in the books, Perrin says, you can't wish a fire. What are you talking about? And Egwene's like, kind of I can. And Perrin's like, could you not? Whereas in this, he's like, can you make cheese also? You know, like it's just a different take on how it could have gone.
And let's talk about the wolves, because the wolves are, in the books, they're not hounding them at all, right? Here the wolves are entirely trying to lead them to safety. Push them to safety. Or
chase them to safety.
Right, right. Because they're just not communicating well with Perrin and Egwene. Like, Perrin, I feel like they're starting to, right? Because we saw them lick his leg. So I think it was at that point they acknowledged him as a wolf brother. Mm-hmm. And we saw the humming, but he's not communicating with them, and they're trying to help.
What I find frustrating about this sequence is that these are village folk who should know what normal wolf behavior is, and running away from them makes no sense. As a kid raised in the woods, you learn how to deal with various animal threats. Mm-hmm. You get drilled on what responses you make to certain animals. you cannot outrun a wolf pack. Your much better bet is to scare them.
Yes, but I'm willing to bet that they've tried and the wolves have just stood there and howled at them, right? The wolves are acting very weird, and the wolves are hurting them. I feel like they're being herded more than hunted, and so that's like creates a very different behavior from the wolves.
But to run is to trigger a chase response. This is true with cats and dogs. You never run. Whatever you do not run. For them to run is just, it's really hard. But I'm on this track because this pisses me off in every single fucking movie ever, where there's a stupid chase scene where people are running away from animals you shouldn't run away from and you can't outrun, and I'm just like, God damn it, why did you have to bring that scene into my Wheel of Time?
Because it's a convenient way to force characters from one place to another, right? If these characters are...
It adds excitement.
It adds tension.
It moves us across distance.
Yep.
Fine. And I hate this scene every time it comes up.
And it replaces the ravens.
Which, making the wolves a threat bothers me.
But they're not.
But yes, it does replace the chase scene with the ravens with Elias. It does give us a gesture. But overall, it is important that the wolves do guide them. It's important that we see wolves behaving erratically. And I like that Egwene is the one that notices that it's like they're hurting them. Because on the one hand, it's very on-the-nose storytelling. On the other hand, she's going to be a dreamer who has to see omens, symbols, allegories, patterns. That's part of how her mind works. That's part of why she's good at what she does later on. It's actually quite fitting for her to be like, I need to make these things fit. It seems like the wolves pushed us here. Like, I feel like that's something she would do. And it's not just heavy-handed storytelling. I'm doing mental gymnastics to make that line make sense. I didn't like that whole sequence, and it's for reasons that are entirely with the movie industry and not with the Wheel of Time series.
Question. Do you think she lights it, or do you think he does?
Oh, she lights it.
Okay. Me too.
Absolutely.
Same.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
She, and the cool thing is that she hasn't been given really a lesson, but I think she just listens to the fire. I think the concept of listen to the wind and the wind listens to you, I think she just tries to listen for the fire in what he's doing, and her hands just make the motion and boom, fire. No, Egwene sparked first. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, but no ravens yet. Not a single one in the show.
Yeah. I also thought it was really sad when Perrin's like almost sobbing as he apologizes as he's trying to get the fire going.
Yeah.
Like, there's so
he feels
much,
like he has to protect, and
so much trauma around Lila in the way that he responds to Egwene in this whole episode, and it's really sad. I need him to get closure. He needs comfort. I want to give him a hug.
I love this symmetry of, it's not exactly, I wish Rand were here because he knows girls, but it's the opposite of that, where they both end up going to Tar Valon because they're convinced the other one would go. And that's sort of that, the lack of information really is driving their decisions. Not necessarily like, they're not like, oh yeah, we all agreed we're going to Tar Valon, so that's where we're going. It's like, no, I want to go home. Yeah, me too, but they're going to Tar Valon, so we have to go to Tar Valon. And so, yeah, that's where we're going to meet, and they both go through that logic. I like how it's both Egwene and Matt who want to go home, and Perrin and Rand who are like, no, I know them. They're going to go.
And it's such a funny reversal from the books because it's Matt and Egwene who are most excited to get out and see the world in the books. I love this unpredictability for our character motivations.
Yeah, and there's a huge... people who are like, oh, they were flirting and that was the problem with their relationship with Lila. I don't get any of that here. This is huge sibling vibes between the two of them.
I had there's so much angst between them. There is history and there is pain.
Yes.
I don't think it's romantic tension. I agree with you. It feels like sibling tension. And like, maybe there was some weird hormonal like moments like one time, but like, that's not the real tension here. The real tension here is shared baggage from a siblings from other parents kind of perspective. There's trauma here, but it's not around their failed romance. And he doesn't get any comfort from this. He's entirely putting it out for her. She can't comfort him because he can't confess what happened.
Right.
Right. Later in the episode, she says it wasn't your fault. And he kind of breaks down and says it was my fault. But she doesn't know what he means. I have more thoughts about that. But like, it's so hard to watch him having to be strong for her and her needing it. So she can't legitimately do anything else than take it.
Well, and also she's missing a key piece of information.
Yeah, it's just, I want to give him a hug. Someone needs to give him a hug.
Well, that's what Hopper's for. He's gonna have a wolf companion to curl up next to him and give him a hug.
Yeah.
Trust me, I know they can be very comforting. I got Timber right here.
Yeah.
So let's cut to Nynaeve and Lan continuing their flirtatious relationship while Moraine dies.
So much green. Just the colors in this entire set of scenes is so rich. And also, I think we should talk about his clothes at this point, because there's a good shot of them.
Also not very artificial. Like, this is, people are like, oh, nothing looks like this. And you are like, oh yeah, Pacific Northwest. This is exactly what we see when we walk outside our door.
I mean, my Pacific Northwest has slightly more sword ferns all over everything.
Fair.
But I'm in the Coast Range, and you're up in the Columbia Gorge more area, Right now, in the fall, after the fall rains, everything is just... And it's not sunny enough for the trees to really get going, so the moss takes off. The moss.
And so, like, this is what it looks like outside my door. Like, these moss-covered rocks I see everywhere. So these colors are very vibrant, and it's not artificial to me. It's not artificial vibrancy. It's not a painted set. It's like, no, this is the color we found in nature, and we're portraying it on the screen. So do you think this is part of the Sea Folk ceremony, or...
It's going to be after Nynaeve joins their culture.
But yeah, I like this interaction where she's not immediately angry, and he's kind to her, and like...
Priority is to get her hydrated, and they both know that. Because, like, he had to tie her up. She knows that. Like, she needs to drink. He knows that. Like, then they start to negotiate.
Mm-hmm. And it sounds like she's maybe been tied up for a while, and he's been like, are you ready to... Maybe this has happened a couple of times where he's been like, are you ready to help now? It's been another hour. Like, and she's been like, absolutely not.
I could believe that.
Do you want to talk about his outfit there? So that's a pretty good shot.
I mean, I haven't done the research I need to really talk about it. I just want to stop and admire it in a still. Because I've heard that it's based on an actual Korean outfit. The hanbok, if I'm not mistaken.
According to Lesbian Nerdy, that's what I've heard, yes. Yeah. Yeah,
that was her suspicion based on the stills, and based on having seen it, she still thinks she's right about that. It looks so comfortable. Mm-hmm. I love how it looks really, really practical.
Yeah.
Like actual warrior clothes. Not looks like a warrior clothes, actual warrior clothes. Not that I know shit about shit, but
it's mostly the belt.
They just look so cool.
Thick belt that you can attach a lot to with multiple points of attachment for balance. The only thing that one point harness here, like I wonder about how that balances out the tension, having like a 3-point harness.
Well, he's got that other one that comes under. So I think that must be how it balances out.
It kind of looks like a seatbelt to me.
It does a little bit look like a seatbelt.
Like, click! Like one that clicks here as opposed to down by your side.
Yeah, but I love the layers on the shoulder, how that like flares out.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
oh yeah,
I just
as rain protection, right? That's a heavier,
exactly.
Like it's absolutely. It's great, very practical clothing. The Hidori is actually very practical for keeping your hair out of your, eyes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like everything there makes sense for someone who's fighting for a living.
And the dull greens and all those shades, like it's not a warder's cloak, but it's pretty good camouflage. Mm-hmm. And it also stands out as very different from what Moraine is wearing and from what the Two Rivers folk are wearing. As the White Cloaks point out, like, oh, you're clearly from the north, right? There's that line where it's like it's a dangerous time to be traveling abroad or in the south. Like he looks different, but not in a weird exoticized fetishized way, just in a like you are built for different climates with your clothing engineering kind of thing. And Divico in chat is saying handboks are longer and more formal. I will become a costume expert after I have finished picking over this series, but I am not there yet.
God, I have to decide. I have a question. Do I need to remake my cloak?
Yeah, you're book Tom. You're
What?
a book gleeman.
Okay.
You're a book gleeman.
But
okay.
man, that inverted corduroy coat, long coat with the thing
gonna have
in
to
the
make
inside.
one of those.
I really want one. That's,
I have feelings about corduroy.
yeah.
Before, when she's picking the flower, you missed it.
Yeah.
Go back.
Oh, okay.
Also, her not a demand; it's a threat. So naive.
Yeah, definitely. That was again another line that's not in the books, but should have been.
Mashiach.
Oh right, yeah, of course. Yeah, no, this is definitely
in
like.
case you were wondering.
Look at his lovesick pose. He's like pining over her. He's like, how did she find me, dude? And she's.
That's all he wants to know.
Yeah, he's like, she's gonna heal, and yeah.
And then he gives another Spock eyebrow.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there it is.
And then it's the whole like, you want to ask me, are you single?
Yeah, I guess we haven't gotten the story of the Malkir King yet, have we? And
We haven't.
And Annaline, like nothing about that.
Yeah. Oh, so real-time follow-up from Fire Phoenix in chat. An article from CBR.com. The Wheel of Time, Land's costume homages the actor's Korean heritage. Daniel Henney says he pushed for the garb of the Wheel of Time's Land Mandragoran to reflect his Korean roots rather than a Japanese-inspired theme. So, there we go. We have the actor weighing in on his own costume as a member of the culture that the costume's inspired by.
Which
That's fucking awesome.
And because the Japanese samurai stereotype is a little too on the nose for Alan Mandragoran, right?
It's much too on the nose.
If you look at the cover of Eye of the World, that's what he is. He's a samurai.
If you look at most of the fan art. Mm-hmm. It's a fair thing for... We didn't have anything else to work with. RJ gave us vaguely Asian. Obviously, samurai is where we were going to go as American fandom, but for them to cast a Korean actor and then let him have input...
Right, and be Korean, yeah.
It reminds me of how Sulu in Star Trek, they wanted him to be a martial artist, and he said, I want to be a fencer. The reason that he is a fencer in Star Trek is because he was specifically pushing back on being typecast as just another Asian ninja.
Nice.
And he's like, I'll do a martial art, but I want to do fencing.
Nice.
And then they let him have it, and it made it a really cool part of his character. So, this is great. This is great.
It's like a schoolboy asking her to a dance.
I know. Do you like me? Very her line, but her secrecy around her backstory, which we get more of in episode 4, which I have feelings about. The mystery of Nynaeve is really real.
Well, and, Jordan didn't give her a backstory.
No. Her father wanted a son and then taught her witchcraft instead. That is the entirety of her backstory.
We don't even know what happens to her father. He's not around.
We don't know what happened to her mother.
Nope.
In the books, she's apparently from the Two Rivers. In the show, she's canonically not. And we don't know where, and we don't know when, and we don't know why. And we will deep dive that harder on the next video when we actually get those scenes. But her lack of answering here, when he asks a straight up question from the books, and she has a line from the books that they chose to not give her for this, that juiciness. There is juiciness there. I like that she was able to go back and get her kit.
Look at that pus. It just, I tell you what, that was just a great scene when I saw that wound. She was able to really push down on that and get that oozing green slimy stuff to come out of the shoulder. That pus.
I cannot with you sometimes.
Oh. And there's the warning about it's going to hurt you too. He doesn't seem to react to that.
I think he feels it, but he's more worried about what it means for Nynaeve. He's like, oh shit, that's very painful. She's in a bad way.
For Moraine.
Yeah, I think he's very concerned about what it means for her physical well-being.
And then...
Not that it hurts him a whole lot. Yeah, he's like, that's not good. I felt wounds far less bad than that I was worried about. This is not good.
I also see like a vein popping out among his eye and a jaw clench. I think he's hurting pretty good. Actually, now that I look at that, that's a hurting face.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's very stoic about it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And then she packs it for with the poultice that sort of
gives her energy, which I am not familiar with poultice-based energy potions, but
I mean,
witchcraft magic.
Sure. What if you have some caffeine in there or something? Wouldn't that like perk you up?
Sure. I mean,
topical
drugs are a thing. It's an open wound. I mean, why not?
Right.
I also love that she has her entire kit. I mean, all the little bottles and the mortar and pestle. And I mean, she crawled out of that pool, dragged the Trolloc out by its hair, probably, got her kit, toweled off her hair, and fucking took off. Like, that was it. That was her evening or her early morning. It's like, the kids were here 10 minutes ago. I'm out.
Right. Yeah, I wonder if there's an explanation for, I guess, just the timing of they left early morning and she was still unconscious for a lot of that night. So, yeah. But she did.
She kicked ass in the dawn.
Totally.
She who kicks ass during the dawn. And then she's like, we wait. Because at this point, she's not healing with the power. She's not.
No.
She doesn't think of herself as being able to heal with the power. Like, none of that. Nope. She's just doing her normal shit and dealing with magic wounds, which are out of her wheelhouse generally. And
as far as I'm aware, there's no evidence that she has been healing. There have any miraculous healings in the Two Rivers that we know about.
Yeah, I'm very curious if episode 4 is the first time she heals or not.
Yeah. And we get a dream sequence from Perrin, and I think this is a masterful dream sequence. This whole thing, I mean, first of all, right there, do you see it?
Oh, yeah.
The eyes in the window.
It took memes on the internet to show it to me, but now I see it.
No, see, I caught it the first time. I saw them; those eyes flashed, and I went, "Bailzamon!"
I didn't catch it the first time at all.
Because I knew he was getting out of bed. I was expecting a dream sequence. Like, from that second, I was like, "Ooh, dream sequence!" And then I was looking like in reflections and mirrors and stuff like that. So yeah, but yeah, love that. He's just watching him and putting him in sequences to see who he is and what he's doing. Mm-hmm. Looks for Layla. And it's like he doesn't remember what he did at first, and then as he gets closer to the forge, he starts to realize what he did. Like, at first, he's very innocent. He doesn't remember this is
where
just
he is at all.
Like, where is she, right? Is she... Mm-hmm. Nope. And then I feel like going through that doorway is sort of entering the memory of having killed, like he's re-experiencing the...
And there's a sound change, too, when he walks through the doorway.
And a slight visual. The frame change, too?
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. I'm glad I caught that.
Yeah.
That half a second. God. It's because in the flash, I thought Perrin was replaced with Baelzamon. It looks like Baelzamon is standing behind him. He's like in the doorway. Whereas Perrin's quite a bit in front of the doorway.
It's like suddenly we are eyes in the back of Perrin's head.
Exactly.
Seeing what's behind him.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's the bedroom and that's the lantern that was just passing over his shoulder.
And Baelzamon's behind the doorway.
So Baelzamon's following him through the dream shard. Yeah. That makes sense.
And then we flash forward, and we're quite a bit forward in the again.
And the sound has gotten very different and echoey and weird at this point. And this is when he's starting to think, I fucked up. There's a memory I'm about to stumble on that I don't want to hit.
And then
we got this scene so early.
This slow motion. What is that? I mean, that's just him walking through the rain, right?
He's walking. There's the house and then the forge, and there's a little covered walkway in between, and he's walking through that covered walkway in between the house and the forge, and it's raining. And so this shot made me realize the forge is now a place of trauma for him.
Oh yeah.
In the books, the forge is a place of comfort.
Yeah. Now it's
a place of trauma, and like that's gonna figure into his whole healing arc.
Yeah, I hope there's a scene with the smithy where he sort of learns to forage again.
Yeah.
And then there's this.
Which I have questions about.
Yeah.
Why is a wolf the bad guy in a Perrin dream?
I think that's Young Bull.
That would make sense. It's a much paler gray wolf than the other wolves we've seen.
I think he is that because he is the one who caused the wound, so he's dreaming of himself tearing into her side and eating the baby. So I think that is Young Wolf there. Or at least of his version of himself as a wolf.
Yeah, because I couldn't see how, because the wolves protect him in the dreams, so it didn't make sense for a wolf to be making his trauma worse. That didn't check out, but him making his own trauma worse.
Yes.
That checks
out. Yes, that's why I had the same problem. I was like, Hopper? What the fuck would Hopper do? No, that's Perrin himself. That's him seeing himself digging into his wife's side and ripping her intestines out, which he did. What does that word?
I know. That's what she said. I know. I saw people caption it with the subtitle. I watched the captions. She says, I know.
Okay. So, yeah, because he hasn't told anyone that he killed her. She's the only one who knows that he's the one who did it, and that's what's actually actively happening is him as a wolf is tearing at her side.
Yeah. Also, it's the only line she got to say before being fridged. So, there's that, too.
Oh, yeah. Right.
It's literally the only line she had in the entire living sequence we got from her.
Oof. And then maybe, you have to wonder if he feels guilt because maybe, like, she didn't tell him he loved her, so maybe he was angry and, like,
There's a lot of trauma to unpack there.
Yeah, it is. God, and those eyes. What is up just dead eyes, I guess.
Zombie eyes, yeah. Like, she's been dead for a day, they've glazed over, like a fish's eyes. Like, that kind of description. Ha! Flaming mouth. Flaming mouth. So good.
You know what else I love? All the symbols. If you look really carefully, there's what looks like weaves on his face. And I'm thinking...
it just pixelated out when I looked closer. The resolution changes for me.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It's just Wi-Fi thing. So there's symbols like down his nose.
Yeah, down his nose and like on his brow. I don't see any on his cheeks, but that might just be the angle that we're coming at. It's one of those things where they're pretty subtle.
Okay, it's sharp again.
They almost look like...
those are very swirly.
Very swirly marks. And they remind me a lot of just like the marks we've seen in Logain's cage, the stuff we've seen in Tarvalin, the sort of representation
also the
of
Old Tongue
weaves.
script.
Old Tongue script, kind of, yeah.
A little bit. Like, what if he's tattooed himself in his isolation? That's not a trope.
I'm thinking more it's the imprint of using the true power on his skin. And that's what's causing this sort of disfiguration that he suffers. The fires in his eyes and mouth, and the disfiguration is like the true power literally settling into his skin.
I really hope that this is not just a trick of the light, and this is something that they keep showing us more and more, and eventually give us an explanation for. Because that's a fascinating catch.
Yeah, it does. I was gonna say it looks like the symbols look a little bit like a flower, but someone is pointing out it's a threefold. It's got little three. All those flowers have three lobes on them.
Trefoil leaves.
Trefoil leaf, perhaps, maybe. Maybe. I mean, that's. Yeah, it looks like Fire Phoenix blew up the contrast. Yeah, the ones on the forehead really look like trefoil leaves.
Oh, God. If they don't give us context for that, I will be very surprised and annoyed. That's a detail that I absolutely missed. Didn't even think to look for something like that. But if they're going to put that detail, then that there has to be something to that at some point.
Or just really clever costume designers. Using
props to the costume designers.
Yes,
props.
They used props quite a bit.
Unintentional pun.
That was awesome. We'll have to give that one to Rob.
I will allow it because Rob's cool.
So what I followed is, I also didn't have a lot to say about the scene because it's like they're running from wolves who aren't trying to catch them. They're just driving them.
It's a stupid chase scene, except that there's actually a plot reason for why they get away.
Yeah.
Instead of movie magic. So fine, whatever.
Yep.
Moving on.
It's like the stormtroopers weren't actually trying to shoot Luke and Leia. That's why they were bad shots. They're not actually bad shots. The wolves aren't trying to catch Perrin. That's why they can't catch. They're not failing to catch up. They're just driving them towards the Tinker tracks. And as soon as they find the Tinker tracks, the wolves are gone.
Yep. It's quick, cheap, easy storytelling. It's potato chip storytelling. It's fine.
And we're jumping over that.
I love these mountains so much.
There must be a little chilly.
Honestly, Rand's kind of a dick here.
Yeah.
Because he has a really warm coat.
And Matt's in a freaking bathrobe. Like, we've said that before. Yeah. It's like a thin bathrobe.
You should share. You should share.
In
fairness, not sharing is like Rand.
Matt doesn't do jack shit when they stop either, so I'm not sure how far my patience would go. It's like, I've been carrying your ass this whole way. Like, the least you can do is just walk. That'll warm you up.
It's a fair argument, but it's
being a little bit of a dick. I mean, you're not wrong about that.
They're 20-year-old men. What do I expect?
So they get to the other side and look down.
Not White Bridge. Remember when we saw this picture, we thought it was White Bridge?
Well, I was like, there's no bridge there. Yeah. But, I was like, it was another town, maybe. I actually thought Verlon, because if you look, you can see the mining in the background. Yeah.
In my memory, I do not remember the river stopping at the end of a mine. I don't remember. I thought there was a river that went right through.
Well, we saw this as a concept art first, right? Remember they released those pieces of concept art? And it was very like someone built a 3D world and pasted this image onto it and put two like artificial boys. And it's almost this exact scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. So my confusion might be legit. So I have an interesting theory about this mine. I don't think that they're mining stone or jewels or mineral resources. I think they're mining an old garbage heap from an old city.
Okay.
Anyone here ever read The Ear, the Eye, and the Arm? Weird children's story, but I knew Grace would have read it before. Yeah. So one of the pieces of the story is mining an old dump for plastic. And there are bits and pieces when they walk through the town and people are holding stuff up and weighing things. It looks like bones and garbage.
And I'll be honest,
garbage to me.
When I look at that, see those three sort of black patches? I don't know if you can see it with the pixelation. It looks like ruins inside of those black patches.
Yeah.
I didn't notice that before, but yeah, it looks like there's a path from the town down on the water. Path leads up to these mines, and then inside the mines are these ruins, which would make sense that that's an Age of Legends city that's been underground, and they're just carving it out of the side of the hill.
Yeah, because of the way that the land got folded, it's a mine now.
Yeah. Or just, the way someone dumped a mountain on top of it or something. Who knows?
Exactly, exactly. So that's not a loony theory. That's a real theory that I'm standing on.
No, I was like, yeah, right. And then I looked close and I was like, oh no, the ruins inside the caves. I'm 100% on board. Just that one, just from the scene. I can see it. I can see the ruins.
Yes.
Aiel in a cage.
With a pink stone of very, very mysterious meaning.
Yeah, I think it's just... I bet they're just going to show that the Aiel have lots of treasure. And fancy jewels and stuff like that. Like, we see that they have, like, gold statues and they carry them around like they're nothing, right? Like, they've looted some very wealthy places and they don't really have any use for that stuff other than for barter.
Yeah, it's a weird colored rock.
Yeah.
And no one stole it before. Why not?
Well, no one stole his money either. Yeah.
Did he have money? I don't see Matt actually getting coins.
We don't actually see Matt take coins, you're right.
I have a hard time believing that something bright pink isn't going to have some kind of meaning later on.
I just think it's a rock. I'll be perfectly honest with you.
Okay.
Let's put something down on that one. It's just a rock.
I don't know what to bet with you.
I think it's just because he's going to steal it. I don't think it's like, oh, this is a powerful object or anything.
No. I think it's going to play into our Aiel culture building later down the road. We're going to see like where they get these from or what they mean to their people or something. Like the pink stone is going to come up again when we meet living Aiel, I think. There's a symbol which I can't quite make it. Yeah, I can see it now on this water wheel. There's like they got a whole painted symbol on that.
Oh, on the
some
back
of the
top
other
part of it.
Yeah, I keep putting my mouse on it, like you can tell where my mouse is.
Right. It honestly, it looks like two picks and a pitchfork, and like,
yeah, it's just a really neat decoration. I don't think it means anything. I just like that they bothered to be like, this town has an identity and it's got a sigil, and you're gonna see it. And
and right above my head too, you can see some like interesting paintings on here. Like they've clearly decorated these buildings. I think what we were talking about was it's directly above here.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's also 4 king figures in front of the door when they go
I wanted to see those.
Into the Oh, thank you for the screenshot in chat.
See
it's like a huge bone, kind of. That's honestly, some junk.
Yeah, it looks like a piece of junk.
Yeah, and then there's a woman holding a bone after this guy, and then another guy, and then there's this woman holding up a weird bone. That. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like
that's
looks
a
like some
giant vertebrae.
Yeah. And it's like that's not what you get out of mines normally, unless it's a coal mine. It's just like so many interesting what is going on there. And yeah, it's almost like it's not a vertebrae, it's almost like it's welded garbage. Oh my god, it's so interesting. Then these guys are also weighing out garbage.
Yeah,
like metal
that's just
garbage.
A pile of. It's like metal scraps. They're not. They don't. You don't have to mine for metal if you can pull metal out of a city. Because it's already pretty well refined. It's already like a one chunk of metal that you find is worth 100 pounds of rocks.
Yep. All you have to do is dig through the crushed ruins of an Age of Legends city and hope you don't fall into a basement.
And I think we get a good shot of the 4 kings here. I've got 2 right over my head, and then you've got, those are the 4. So this is the 4 kings. So this is very much like, now the 4 kings was obviously a town in the books in Either World, and they went to the inn called the Dancing Cartman.
Yes.
And the Dancing Cartman is where you had Hal Goad and his minions.
Samuel Hake.
Samuel Hake. Sorry, nice. Yes, Samuel Hake.
Yeah, it is Goad and Hake. They're both there.
And then
that whole sequence for
and ran channels lightning. For the first time with lightning. So
again, the second time, because in the books he'd already channeled to heal Bella.
Well, yeah.
But his second, it's a very important pivotal time, and in that instance he hurts Matt. In this instance he doesn't, because Matt's not there.
Right. So we don't have the whole issue with Matt and his eyes and the whole.
But he's being taken down by the dagger to a much greater extent.
Totally. So yeah, this is the introduction of Tom, guys. That was Boots first, absolutely. And so far we've had Lan, Tom, and Logain are the 3 that I've noticed have been introduced Boots first.
And Moraine.
Nish. No, that was Lan who came in first.
Oh, it is Lan's Boots.
Yes.
Yeah.
We thought it was Moraine. The trailer was deceptive.
Yeah.
The trailer was deceptive about it. The show was not.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, this corduroy coat, must manifest.
Yes.
This coat, I need it really bad.
Also, you notice you can see just the inside of his coat there that he's sitting on and that's hanging. Do you notice the patches?
Yeah, no, and when he gets up there, he flips it out, and I am in love with it's more of a quilt than patches. And it's just it's just dapper. I am absolutely in love with his coat, and I will do anything for that coat. I will die for that coat. I will make that coat. I'm making that coat. I'm going to make that coat for myself. It's so good. And I gotta, his voice isn't my favorite, but he's playing the guitar.
Yeah.
He's playing the guitar. They actually got a musician to play the bard.
That's great. And
they got a real bard.
I will admit, I love this song. And I love the metal growl. I love that deep, like, who can't forget. Like, I really enjoy that. Everyone else is like, it's not what they like, and everyone else is like getting over it. I love it so much. This is absolutely what I want. I want the anger. I want to feel that sort of passion. I also think that it's going to be even more of a surprise when he does break out with a ballad. And so I'm on board with it. Also, one of the things I love about this song is I can sing it. Not well, right? But it's not a hard tune to hold. It's more of a sing-songy, vocal. This is something
It's a storytelling
song. And something I can see a bunch of people getting together at a con singing very loudly,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And also thunderously applauding one person doing a killer straight acoustic cover.
Right.
Well, not even cover, just an acoustic rendition. Like, this is what I was saying back when they changed it to a guitar. And I was like, this means people can play the music. He's literally playing the chords. It is a song meant to be sung on a guitar. The applicability to people's actual real world skills is, he's a real performer and he's giving people a real thing they can cover. I am so in love with his performance, even though his vocal quality isn't my favorite. That's just a personal preference, and it's funny how many people agree with me and not with you. But the fact that they picked someone who can actually deliver the angst that is Tom and the depth that is Tom with real bard skills is like, what, I'm supposed to complain that he's not my type? Like...
I think I like it because it is so unrefined, and I think a lot of people they wanted a more refined court bard Tom, and
he's not what we expected.
No, and what I'm hoping is that he whips out that refined court bard Tom later.
And just slaps us all silly with it.
Exactly. That's what I'm sitting here being like, oh yeah, go ahead, criticize his gravelly voice now. Just wait till he comes out with a sweet ballad and makes you all weep when he comes back in.
I'm ready for it. I'm ready to be made wrong in that way. I'm okay with that. Yeah. And like I said before, I think that the angst that he brings to this here is because he's singing about himself. Even though he's singing about the dragon, he's also singing about himself.
Yes. So we talked about how this was just a much more gritty, gravelly Tom.
This is perhaps not Tom from Eye of the World. This is Tom from Dragon Reborn.
Who perhaps thinks he got a lover killed. And that's what he can't forget. That's who he's missing.
Yeah. Or it's just Owen angst.
Yeah.
He might just be hanging on to Owen angst in a bigger way. We don't know, but that flair.
That flair plus the mustache guitar.
The mustache, the boots, the coat, the mustache guitar.
It's like they gave us the character before they ever showed us his face.
Yeah, and then they're like, this is the actor we chose to play the character, and you're like, well, all right. It's great. It's really good. Also, I really like that they included him tuning at the beginning. Again, this is an actual bard on film. You can tell because there is 0 guitar players ever, good guitar players who take themselves seriously, who do not retune right before they start playing. That is just, it's a thing they do. The guitars are very temperamental to temperature and humidity, so they always have to be retuned before you give a performance. Like, that's just, you strum, you retune, you strum, you retune, you play.
I also have to feel like you have to get your fingers in the right place. It's like when you and I sit down to talk, we never just turn on recording and start recording. We talk for 5-10 minutes beforehand. We have to. We have to warm up. We have to tune our vocal cords. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just them coming in to the inn.
Oh, yeah.
And meeting Dana. Not Dina.
Dana with the gorgeous eyes and the septum piercing and the lovely arc.
across a crowded room. No one, they walk in and she doesn't talk to anybody else and says, "Oh, you two, welcome."
Mm-hmm. It
hey.
could just because they're young, handsome men, or it's because she... And also, so when she goes to attack Rand and she says, "Was it the hair?" She doesn't have her hair like that yet. When her hair changes, I think that's when she communicated with the Fade. So it hasn't happened yet. This is her being on yellow alert. They walk in.
She has to go see them and then go change her hair.
Exactly.
Yeah, she doesn't know that they're coming in quite yet. I don't...
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Also, so with this song, back to the song, I feel like Asmodean wrote it originally.
Like...
It has serious Asmodean vibes.
He's the one who met the Dragon Reborn? Yeah.
Yeah. It feels like an Asmodean thing. Also, the line, "The truth that is his pain," on Rand's face.
Yeah.
My heart. Like,
because as a book reader, I see that entirely about the Dragon Reborn, right? That is 100% like.
And that line is hitting Rand, and he doesn't know why. And it's like, because that's your fucking destiny. That's
and
why.
your past.
It's so amazing.
Yeah.
And then, there's the thief that steals from Matt.
Right. Well,
Then Tom gets him his money back. That's the thing.
By the way, you notice how she said the soup is good? Mm-hmm. Do you know, later, did you recognize how she was making the soup by just, like, throwing a bunch of leftovers into the pot?
Yeah.
Yeah. The soup is not good.
That's what they have. She's saying, like, I have a food.
Yeah.
Would you like a food? Because the food is good. And that's all. Fucking pig legs and old beer and leftover rounds and all that's like...
That's what you're eating?
Stone soup, all right.
And then, that's where Matt got his money stolen right there.
And Tom immediately
just takes it back.
Because he sees everything. He's already spotted these two, clocked where they're from, figured out what happened, sees them get pickpocketed. It's like, I'm going to look out for these kids. Like, so much has happened with him already.
He probably also noticed the special attention that Dina gave them. That's why he's, like, watching her.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Oh, yes. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so I think that's a little bit of like, if they'd offered him some charity, I think he would have given the coins right back. But because Matt was like, no coin for the Gleeman. He's like, life lesson. You pay, if you listen to the song, you tip the Gleeman.
It's so beautiful. It's just like if you're in a video game with like all the like little branchy quest things and like you get different rewards based on like how you interact with the NPCs. Like I saw a criticism, like I said before, I'm trying to avoid commentary on the show to have my own opinions, but I did see a criticism that it's too much like a video game, and it's like, but I kind of love it though. I kind of love that there's these tropes that were built into Tolkien that became the basis of video games, that are the basis of the genre, that Rafe isn't shying away from, because that's what the first book was all about. I love it.
But these characters are also not ever just the stereotype.
No, that's just where they start.
Yeah. And he starts them out a little bit further. That's one of the reasons about the changes is he's getting away from those stereotypes, right? He's adding more backstory to the three boys. You know, he's getting Tom away from being less clown-like, right? He doesn't have the cloak and the juggling and the entertainment. He's just a storyteller, a knowledge holder, right? Like he's...
Oh my God.
Yeah,
his line in episode 4. It's a silly name to... I have feelings that if you've listened to Broken Earth, you will know some of those feelings.
He pays with Matt's money.
With Matt's money. I got that for you.
Yeah, no problem. Love that smile. That mischievous,
Oh, so Tom.
Very Tom.
It's like, and that's the point at which I'm like, okay, fine. So his singing voice isn't what I expected, and he doesn't have huge mustaches. It's still Tom.
And they were dicks to him, right? Like, he sits down.
Such a Tom thing.
Yeah.
So Tom, especially when he hasn't talked, like that's the first interaction. That's exactly how Tom's going to treat them. I really hope Matt and Tom travel together later.
Oh yeah, there's got to be some more symbiosis between them. Yeah,
like that was a great first start to their relationship.
I wonder if that sort of, do you think you can do better thing is all we're going to get with him training them to be gleeman? I don't think we're going to get any more than that.
Given that like, Bale was cut,
yeah,
that whole training montage is on the spray. So,
and how many times have I ranted against the juggling montage and how ridiculous it is how fast Matt learns that? Like, I would be more than happy to see that little bit cut where he becomes miraculous at juggling in a month. Like, yeah, don't need it. And again, they're cutting down the amount of clown that Tom has going on. So yeah, I can definitely see just none of that coming into play. Like the boys just aren't they're just going to work their way to Tarvalin.
Yeah, Rand will know how to play the flute because he's a shepherd and will pick up a flute
or
somewhere.
Something. Yeah,
like it doesn't have to be the whole thing with Tom.
Yeah, you notice he didn't give them his harp and flute before.
Yeah, none of that. Didn't give them the cloak. I mean, actually, their relationship is much more tenuous in this telling. Perrin's getting dehydrated. Somehow Egwene isn't, but Perrin is.
She is. I think it's just less obvious on her. I think just the way the makeup is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's much more pallid.
Yeah. See, the wolves are just...
But Ayla is right. They both look awful.
Yeah.
How do they tell which direction these tracks are going? Because they say headed east like it's very sure, and I haven't spotted why.
When you have a front wheel and a back wheel, right, the horses are attached to the front wheel, so the front wheel steers. And so you can tell by the tracks what direction the carts are moving because of what tracks are over the other ones, whether the steering ones are on bottom or on top. Does that make sense?
Almost.
Yeah. They're like, I'm guessing, this is an entirely an educated guess, but that like if you have a wagon on a cart, you're going to have basically your front wheels are going to turn. And so that's how you steer.
Yeah. Also, there's going to be the same principle with the human and horse footprints. They're going to be very distinct which direction they're going.
Right, because the wheel tracks are going to be over the... Yeah, right. Footprints.
Yeah, hoofprints. Yeah. Like these are very. They only go one direction, as a rule. So I guess it's just the tracks are the wheel tracks are the only thing that's obvious to the camera. But clearly to Perrin, who's arm's length away from it, he can see like horseshoes. He's like, I don't have whispers in the back of my head. No, I don't.
A wolf didn't lick my leg or anything.
I have never interacted with a wolf in my life.
No idea what you're talking about. And meanwhile, the wolves are just like, yes, go be with people. You need help.
You need the fire stuff.
Yeah. Man, it's a thing of men.
Yeah.
But do you see the way those like two levels of track sort of interwove? I feel like you can tell by which ones were curvy and which ones were more straight, which direction they're going. But again, feet tracks make more sense for yeah. So we're back at the inn.
Yeah, and Rand is joking in a way that he's missing how depressed Matt is.
Yeah, he's like, oh god, the soup.
Yeah. He just ate that stuff. He's like, oh.
That one, I actually missed that joke the first time. I thought she was like saying, go sweep the floor or something. But what's saying is like, he says, we'll be prostrate ourselves
We'll throw
on the
yourself
floor.
At your feet. She's like,
well, yep, throw yourself at my feet. There's a bunch of crap down there. And I've worked in enough kitchens to know that is accurate. That is always, the kitchen floor is always gross. It does not matter how clean you try and keep it. Food falls. You're just too busy.
Okay, notice here. Her dress is fully buttoned across the front.
Yeah.
When she's flirting with Rand, that first panel is down to allow some cleavage to be visible. It's not here.
Interesting. Yeah.
And her hair is still up.
Yep.
She hasn't been ordered to seduce him and hold him in one spot yet.
Well, she hasn't had a chance yet.
Exactly. I'm tracking the exact order of events through this and how she changes, because there's so many subtle signs that she's off. But you don't pick it up until you're on your third rewatch or whatever.
Well, and I think that the splitting wood is actually a delaying tactic. Like, she knows that can take that'll take hours to split that wood.
And it's believable. There's a lot of reasons to go for it.
And then we get this scene where Matt goes shot our Logoth.
And suggests a threesome.
Is that what that is?
It. Yeah, if you think she's up for it. We'll take turns if you think she's up for it.
I totally missed that. I gotta see that now. Hold on. Which I love that because Matt was defending Moraine, and so he's like, "Oh, you defend her so much, why don't you marry her?" Basically, is what he's saying.
Is that what I did not understand what that line was about? I was like, "Is this setting us up for Thailand? Like, what the fuck is?" The fact that he was defending Moraine.
Right. He was like, "Oh, yeah." He's like, "Oh, you love her? Then why don't? Isn't she your speed? Don't you have a crush on Moraine?" And Matt's like, "No. Are you kidding me?" She's like, "I said I like. There's no. It's so out of the question that he just like brushes on by it." But so that was my thought about that exchange. So that's his first barb, and then Matt comes back with, "Okay, yeah, no, I totally."
and then he says, "The wood, Matt." Like, that isn't just making everything worse.
Oh, they'll alternate on each other's wood, will they?
It's just like I am 12. I'm sorry.
But no, that is a great, very subtle, very funny bro exchange between the two of them that builds that relationship very quickly.
That's so horny. I love it. Yeah.
And that is, she was a little flirty, so they're definitely like,
oh, yeah.
Yeah,
definitely. Super, yeah, it's hilarious exchange, because Rand's such a fucking dum-dum, you know? But then, yeah, Matt gets all daggery.
Yeah, this is very dagger Matt.
That way that he looks up at Rand.
Yeah.
It's...
She absolutely went around the corner and listened to them talk. One of us being the bloody dragon reborn. I mean, she knows. I don't know.
She already... She doesn't have to listen.
Yeah, no, she doesn't.
And she already knows what she knows.
I'm headcanoning it, though, that she listened to that conversation. I have no proof whatsoever. That's definitely no...
Okay.
And it's not like anyone can ask her anymore.
It's true. It's true. I mean, I think she went running off to her little dark altar to summon a fade, but she could have stopped to listen.
And yeah, it's just nihilism. They're dead. We're dead. Everybody's dead. Game over, man. Game over.
Okay, wait.
Yeah,
Stop.
Yeah.
Do you think that the Dark gave her their names?
No, she sees them.
So, I just found your proof that she is listening.
Yeah?
Because Matt just said her name.
Right, Egwene.
Yeah. And the whole exchange about... She learns who the girl's name is, because clearly she's especially once she confirms that they aren't a couple.
Right.
Once she confirms that Rand is definitely into the girl, she knows which name is the girl's. And she knows what Egwene looks. So there's your proof that she does listen.
I like it. That's why I do this. Just playing on his worst fears and doubts, just like Shadar Logoth does.
So Arid Hall.
Yeah. And then it's his response to shrug it off and be like, "You're just a prick," right? Like,
yeah, you're just, fuck you, bro. So the line, "Do what you want like you always do," that... It makes me wonder about how much of Matt's entire reputation has been holding his family together, right? Like, all the bad mistakes he's made, all the bad decisions he's made, all the times he had to duck out of a responsibility. It wasn't actually because he's irresponsible, it's because he was trying to protect his sisters and keep his family together.
Or make some money.
Imploded. Or make some money because his family's imploding. And, like, the whole, like you always do. Like, I just feel like the way Matt looks at him, it's like... You don't even know.
Yeah.
But he can't say it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Split your efforts, get it? He's splitting wood.
I did miss that. I missed that.
I don't know if that's intentional or not, but...
It is. And that's flirting. Now they're flirting.
Yes, now he's like, "Are your efforts worth much?" And he's like, "For fucking yeah."
Yeah, he's like, "I can earn my way."
Yeah. He's like, "You want to share a bed?"
Yeah, washing sheets, I prefer to sleep in them.
Oh, that teeth sucking just made me want to slap the shit out of him.
Fuckboy.
Oh my god, yeah. I don't know why that little. What can you do? Nothing. Like.
It's so. There's so much slappability about that gesture.
100% a lie. But in the books, it's the truth.
It's true in a portal world.
Right. In another world, his father is a horse trader, but which never made a lot of sense because there aren't a lot of horses in Tarvalin, and who the hell are you going to trade them with, right? Like
The Two Rivers?
I did say Tarvalin, yes, in the Two Rivers. Like, yeah, there's like horse trader didn't make a lot of sense as a profession, right? It never did to me.
Yeah.
And the fact that Matt was making it up the whole time is brilliant way to just retcon that and be like, no.
Yeah, because Abel never says he's a horse trader. He never has strings of horses to trade.
No.
Like,
I mean, I think they're all killed when the Trollocs come through at Winter Night, maybe? I don't know.
the White Cloaks requisition them. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows?
But the flirting here is still pretty vicious and spicy, and I love it.
Yeah, isn't there a line that like he had to flee his farm when the White Cloaks came and abandon his herds or whatever?
Yeah, which is why his whole family gets kidnapped, is because he barely gets out in time.
Yeah.
So yeah, the White Cloaks probably just take his horses, and we don't know how many that is because they never recover them.
And I love that public shaming.
With no horses.
No. And like, I love that everyone starts talking again halfway through it because they're like, yeah, he's getting roasted.
Yeah.
And then we get Barmaid Matt, which is awesome.
Yeah. And he just rolls right into it, which is great.
Just throwing bullshit back at him.
Yeah, would you catch what his line is?
Yes. Too pretty for the mines, are you? Barmaid with stubble. He's like, yeah, blunted my razor, shaving your mother's back.
Your mom.
Yeah. Even in the Wheel of Time, your mama jokes still applicable. Applicable. Yeah.
Oh, chat is saying that Matt always said he was best at horse trading, not that that's what his father...
Yeah, gonna keep him around for the fade.
Might keep him around. He amuses. She's like, maybe I'll have time to fuck him before I send him off to be killed. Of course, she still has her thing buttoned up because she hasn't made contact yet.
I love that.
I love that.
Yeah. Because Jordan does that a lot in his writing. He likes to give you the beginning of a sentence and have the character change it halfway through, and there's two different sentences there. And yeah, he definitely changes the two of us. And she knows the Two Rivers.
I like that he's trying to protect them, though. Even though he's Dagger Matt, he's a mixed bag still.
Yeah. And he's still barely been corrupted. He's only starting to be corrupted.
Yeah.
He's still like, ooh, that was weird. Riverboat, Bail Domon, come on! I want to see some Domon going on here. I like the fact that this Dark Friend, even though she's just trying to keep him there, is influencing his future behavior. The whole getting out, the whole talking about being dirt and coming back to dirt, like this conversation between she, who has obviously scraped her way up to bartender and become an informant by being at a place of information exchange, and like she's clearly come from nothing and made a lot of poor choices to get to where she is, and he is also coming from nothing, and so there's this similar background where they're both like, yeah, we're broke and it sucks.
Yeah, her line about how everyone here has known her whole life makes me think that this is an alternative version of Min's life, just working in a mining town. Like a few different twists of the wheel, this could have been what Min's experience was. And because he mentions Berlon, I want to point out that Berlon exists, and Min's entire arc in Berlon can still be happening sans our characters coming through. Like her whole life there, all of that can be exactly as it was as far as we know at this point. But this could have been her, just with a few differences. This is Min's basic backstory. She just made different choices along the way.
And there was a minute where I was like, wait, is this Min? No, okay. Because we were in a mining town, she's a server, she talks about that. Like, the difference is Min had aunts and family. This woman sounds like Dana sounds like she doesn't have any of that.
She's very nihilistic too. She totally is just a spokesperson for Ishi. I love that about her.
Yes. She definitely falls into that philosophy of doom.
She spells it out and you're like, yeah, I agree. Fuck. So this suggests to me, was the Aiel taking their fifth? Like,
well, based on what Tom says, and he seemed to witness it, he says it wasn't justice. So I don't think he was taking anything. I think that was just xenophobia.
But they accuse them of taking the fifth, presumably, unless they just put everyone they hate in cages.
I think there's a little bit of just like, oh, he was a thief. Aiel are thieves, so therefore put him in a cage like a thief.
Okay.
Yeah,
fair enough.
Which is belied by the fact that he's covered in jewels.
Also, the town wasn't conquered, so the fifth wouldn't apply.
Right. Yeah, I was gonna say he didn't conquer anything.
You'll just get the 5th wherever they go because they're awesome. Just an awesome tax.
So it is poison. We did debate over that. But it must be slow acting, plus she's drawing strength from her warder. I think we talked about both of those.
Yeah, I also feel like he actually pushes strength through the bond to her at one point in this sequence. Just being like, I will exhaust myself to keep you going. I don't know if he can do that, but I'm choosing to believe he can.
And so this next segment doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. I assume it's just him scouting and he finds the acid eye they're looking for. Is that it?
Yeah. Because he sees their screaming red tents through the tree foliage because the red Aes Sedai do not know the concept of subtlety. Wouldn't know it if it bit them on the nose.
I didn't understand why he went scouting. Like, what spurred him to suddenly go then, as opposed to
I think he's desperate.
Yeah.
I think he's hoping that Nynaeve is going to pull it off, and then when that doesn't work, he's desperate, and he's like, I'm going to go find the Aes Sedai that I know are somewhere, some number of days, and I'm going to hope that they're close enough, and they are, because Ta'Veren or whatever. But Lan on Mandarb just walking away from Nynaeve is just like a masterclass in flirting with someone as stubborn as her. It's amazing. Just like the picture of him on the horse just like turning away. It's like, she's smitten. She's officially totally smitten by now.
I also love the way she's like, you can't trust me. I could kill her. And he's like, I trust you. And walks away. That's basically what he's saying. Like, yeah, no, I trust you.
And she's like, well, fuck you then.
Yeah, she's like, damn it, well, he read me too well because I'm definitely going to take care of Moraine. Damn it. I have no choice.
Like now she's invested energy and she cares. She's definitely not going to let this patient die. Like it's a whole thing. It's wonderful.
So then we get this little bit with the fog, which felt a little bit weird to me. The whole, like, having the Tinkers come out of the fog and feel dangerous was just like, really? They're the Tinkers. Like, what?
But that's not how Perrin and Egwene see them. Perrin, again, POV writing.
Yeah.
We're in their heads. Everything's scary. Everyone is a threat. Perrin's like, let me get killed alone, please.
Yeah, and this whole, like, we are together.
Yeah. And again, he's just like trying to protect her because guilt over Layla. And again, he has to be strong.
Yeah.
And there's no one there for him. He has to have it all inside, all himself, and to just protect her. And it's just, someone needs to hug him in a way that he can accept. Because she just hugged him and it didn't work.
No, well, yeah. He needs to open up to somebody.
Yeah, and it's like, I want to wonder if there's a double meaning to it's not your fault. If she's talking about the trouble between him and Lila, it's not your fault. And she's speaking to that as well, or entirely. And he thinks it is. Just like with the axe, where it is literally his fault. He thinks it is his fault, whatever that pre-existing baggage was that was holding their marriage back. Like, I feel like this line could be read two ways, and maybe she means it two ways.
I just had a theory that, I said I'm convinced that we have some recap stuff coming up, but I bet in the final episode, Eye of the World, when everybody's flooded with power, that's when we get some of that recap stuff that, like, it resolves some of these issues that we're setting up, that we have
a little bit of like life before the eyes.
Exactly.
Kind of moment.
Exactly. And that's how we get a life flashing before your eyes when you're, about to die or about to use a massive amount of power or something like that. And that's when we get the flashbacks to Emond's Field. Just a thought.
I could totally see it. I could totally see something to do with the eye forcing that hit of memories. I could see it, yeah.
And then that creates the emotional turmoil and the character that they have to resolve the emotional turmoil to use the power type situation.
Yeah.
Something with Perrin as well. I don't know. It was just a thought.
Yeah, somehow. I love it. I want to see them make that a thing.
So they walk into the mist and
the Tinkers show up from two sides.
Yeah.
Very bold of them.
Very.
It's a very bold and aggressive stance for people who will be pacifists if you resist them at all.
I'm wondering how much of that is just for show, like the dogs are.
I think it's just for show.
Right. It's like, if we come up threatening on somebody, they'll just be afraid of us, and then we can not worry about it.
Also, they're looking at these two.
Yeah.
Being like, not a threat. these kids aren't a threat. Let's
No.
just surround them before they can like run away, right? They're like scared little deer. Like you gotta like enclose them.
I also imagine the kids did a terrible job following stealthily, and that like the Tinkers are like,
Just like with Elias.
Yeah, who are those people
The Tinkers are
following
like,
us?
we live out here.
Yeah.
Which, okay, side tangent. Apparently the word tinker, when used in context of traveling people, is considered a slur. I just learned that the other day.
well, and what's interesting is
So,
this is much more because this actress Isla, Martha Kennedy Doyle,
Maria Doyle Kennedy.
Doyle Kennedy. Sorry,
Gorgeous actress. I love everything she's in.
wonderful actress, but isn't she's Irish, right?
I believe so, yes.
And there's an Irish traveling people who are called the slur of the Tinkers. So there's
Yeah.
very much, this is much more based on the Irish traveling people.
Who prefer to be referred to as travelers,
Right.
very close to traveling people. So, and it's presented here in the show as a slur, but also Amazon's page that talks about them and their little world building extras with the show uses this word tinker to reference
Yeah.
them, and that's the heading they use instead of Tuatha, and it's a little could have been handled better,
Well, maybe you should write Sarah about that one, because I think she wrote those.
but I love how unusual every piece of them is. Like they are a truly new compiling of the features that we're used to, which
Yeah.
is fun.
And one of the differences, when I saw them here, I thought they looked somewhat bland for the description. I was like, I like the patterns, but and the contrasting patterns and everything, and I do like some of the colors. But then I feel like in episode 4 they really showcased how bright the colors actually were. You really got an aerial shot of just how bright the Tinkers were. So it's I think it was just a coincidence of what they showed was probably some of the least bright colors. Like one of the things I find interesting, Aram is one of the least brightly colored of the Tinkers, and I wonder if that shows his distance from the Way of the Leaf and his distancing from the Tinkers.
I would bet it does. There is one shot in this episode with some really bright fuchsia like armbands that I didn't catch until my latest rewatch. That it's just like, that is the most hot Barbie pink. I love it so much. So they have a little bit of it here, but yes,
Yeah.
But this is shot in the mist. This is gonna mute the colors. Like,
Right.
that's the context they filmed in.
Also, I love the puppies. Look at those mastiffs. They did such a good job. That's exactly
love
what I
the
pictured.
dogs.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to picture. I thought they would kind of be like giant golden retrievers, but I don't know dogs that well.
Yeah, no,
I'm fine with being wrong.
Yeah.
I also, the other thing I love is the strap that keeps her hand warm on her staff.
Oh, I didn't notice that. That's clever.
It is
Yeah.
such a cool little prop that just speaks to, again, the costume design of like, this woman walks all day, all year. Like she has a little covering to keep her knuckles from getting like weathered and frostbitten and sunburned, and
by the way,
just keep her hand warm.
This is a quarterstaff. A wooden stick with a metal pole on the end, longer than a staff, which is much more, sort of a wooden stick of slightly shorter length. Without, yeah. So we had that debate.
And here we have a quarterstaff that is clearly not a weapon, but yeah, it's long enough to really do you some help. But I just love that they thought to have her not just holding a random stick from the woods. She's actually like, this is her walking stick that she has all tricked out and like,
I imagine there's that top unscrews and there's like a pipe inside of there and a little stash for something.
Well, as we know from Recapacidi and Tony the Tinker, they like their Two Rivers leaf.
They do. And I think we already made the joke that someone on there is always doing mushrooms pretty much all the time. So.
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Nobody dresses like that and doesn't have people doing mushrooms around them all the time.
God, yeah. Look how dull his clothing is.
Yeah, I hadn't noticed that until you pointed it out, but it's incredible how he's just a little brown bird.
Yeah.
Just a nondescript.
Everybody else is so bright
bird.
and has like patterns. I would be parent in that situation. We don't know the song. I don't know. What do you want from me?
Yeah.
I don't know your customs. I hated that delivery. I hated it with a passion.
I didn't like it at first. I'm now feeling like they changed it. They changed the meaning of it to this is a ritual that they have to perform when they meet new people. Like it's a superstitious kind of thing, because that's the only way this delivery works at all for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't.
It's a weird.
She feels like she's almost rolling her eyes at her own ceremony after insisting on it.
No, see, that's why I think it's a ritual, is because she's looking at the sky. I don't think she's rolling her eyes. She's being impatient. She's laughing at how impatient Aram is when she says, "Then we seek still." And then I think she looks to the heavens to say the ritual words. I don't think she's rolling her eyes.
Okay.
Because otherwise it doesn't make sense. Like, that's the only way to resolve it for me.
And just like in the inn, the woman definitely takes all the lines in the relationship, right?
Yeah, I was noticing that we have made Isla the leader and Rayan just the supportive spouse. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Aram doesn't even have patterns.
No. He's the only one without patterns or color.
Rayan's pretty dull, but he still has some blue stripes.
Some bright on his arms, and he's very heavily striped.
Aram's got red arms. Aram's got like a red shirt underneath.
Oh yeah, look at that. That pink and red.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Aram's got bright cuffs underneath and stripes underneath, but his topmost layer is camo. Basically.
I feel like that's symbolism. Underneath, he may be a little tinker, but he's definitely only just a little bit, or maybe just on the cuffs. That did have the sound of a slur. Surely you heard of the tinkers.
Like, yeah, he delivers it in a tone, and the way they look at each other is like it's that guilty, like, oh. We recognize we have, and that whole conversation that where Egwene blows up in front of Elias. It's so much is in that glance. Okay, so as someone who just got a wood stove installed, that's not enough for the next month.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say that's not actually that much wood. That just around there. Maybe I assume maybe there's a pile stacked up somewhere of wood.
But even so, it's really cold there.
Yeah. Nothing like a bit of slap and tickle.
Which is a line we get from Matt, books and books from now. Again, not a lot of this was whole cloth. A lot of this is bits and pieces of dialogue compiled from elsewhere.
Right. But just the casual implication that if they're together, it's fine. Like, it's nice. And we get more of that in episode 4. If I wanted Matt, I could do better.
So much throwing Matt under the bus. You're throwing shade. It's
also very.
I have standards.
It's also flirty. It's like I could do better. You're better. Like there's definitely a little bit of that.
There's a bit of I'm into girls, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, exactly. There's that he puts a big emphasis on that if. Yeah,
and it's funny because he's not really trying to flirt with her. He just kind of can't help it because she's turned the charm up to 11. And she's doing literally everything possible. And he's like, I'm only 20. I don't know how to defend myself against girls.
Look at that goofy grin.
Yes. I also love that she totally just like throws gaydar out as a thing. And it's just like, I can't tell. Like, you can't tell what a person is. Like, it's their business. I don't know. Like, love that.
If you don't think I drink on the job, you love it.
Everything about her whole performance. It's so funny.
You know, and I've been working in the food industry for a while. All your servers are drinking. All the bar staff is drinking. Maybe not a lot, but they've all had at least a shot at some point in the night. Nobody doesn't drink on the job, at least a little bit. Like, I almost think it's required. And and then also, just servers making drinks, they always take, like, they put a straw in and then just put a drop on their tongue, but you do that for 50 drinks. Like, it's not nothing. So, yeah. Anyway. They really set me up because they set me up to like Dina a lot.
Oh God, I liked her so much. I liked her more when she turned out to be a dark friend.
That is unfortunate. Yeah, a little bit.
Because she kicks ass.
Yeah.
She fucking kicks ass so much. And her only sexuality is the thing that she's weaponizing. Like, her character is extremely simply dangerous.
And here, if I get rid of us, you can see
That gorgeous
the red
shot.
tents there right in the
Yeah,
distance.
the red tents. Yeah, which is just like, you really aren't going for camouflage if you're into the red, are you?
So the caffeine pulses works, and they get her up and get her on the horse. And let's get back to Matt and Tom with that introduction.
With that gunslinger, except there's no guns.
And just in case you weren't sure if he took the dagger with him,
Just in case.
give a nice up-close view of him with that curved-tip dagger.
We missed the part where Moraine was whispering Swan's name.
Oh my god, of course, yeah. Well,
Important to point
yes,
out.
that is important to point out. I don't have much to say other than, sexy. Do you think? I mean, do you think it's a mission-driven thing? Do you think it's a comfort-driven thing? Do you think it's just she's sick?
I think she's dying and hallucinating and
Yeah.
talking to Swan.
Yeah. Which I didn't have any trouble hearing that the first time. Like,
I missed it, but I have terrible audio fidelity when I listen to stuff. Like, I didn't think there was anything she was saying at all.
No, I
And
definitely...
then it was pointed out, and now I'm turning on captions because that helps. I just have terrible ears. It's just a thing. Audio processing is not great on my part.
See, whereas my processing's really good, it's my retention that sucks. I need visual to retain things. Also, I love that Tom immediately is like, yeah, I know you're from the Two Rivers. Right, like, and then he's like, wait a minute, how the hell do you know about Trollocs? Like, wait, what? Like, that expression of just, what? That's why he's like, he was walking by him, ignoring him as just like a simple farm boy, and then he mentions Trollocs, and that clicked a whole nother switch in Tom's head.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm so curious why Thomas feels obliged to help an Aiel in this way.
I think he's just morally feels like he just saw it as a bunch of local yokels murdered a noble man and wanted to fix things. Like, I really do think Tom is a good person.
Yeah.
And I think that's what this is showing us.
And Firefang is pointing out Gleeman can travel in the way, so he is one of the people in the world who would actually know about them in a way that's different from most people. Mm-hmm. That's really does figure into, like, why would he care? Because he actually knows them, and why he snaps at Matt. Like, my stories don't talk about how they're as bad as Trollocs. Like, I tell the fucking truth. Yeah. Because, I mean, obviously he's a good guy. I'm just like, why is he putting himself out there? He's probably actually known Aiel.
Yeah.
To an extent. Also, I like that they're bringing forward little notes of when Perrin meets Fael, with the whole, like, people bragging in town about taking down dozens of Aiel when they actually only killed one, and there's an Aiel an Aiel in a cage, townspeople doing dastardly things and lying about how it goes. Like, we're bringing elements in. They didn't have to invent any of this.
No.
They just had to rejigger how it fits into the story.
Right. And, like, yeah, this is definitely foreshadowing for Gaul. I hope we see Gaul in a cage living, and I hope we see Perrin bring him down. Like, if that doesn't...
Oh, that'd be cool.
I will
Yeah.
riot if we don't see Perrin and Gaul. Like, that's the best bromance in the whole series to me, right? Like,
Release
I love
me,
those
Wetlander.
two. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I
no.
love when they chop the White Cloaks to pieces. Love it. It's like,
It's so
mincemeat,
good.
yeah. And then I love just how much he just walks by it. Like, we get so much about the two White Cloaks he killed earlier, but then he chops like 11 more to mincemeat, and he's like, yeah, whatever, they were attacking me. That's fine.
Yeah. Another reason why I'm okay with shifting where his guilt around the axe is rooted.
Right.
Because
Right.
those two random White Cloaks don't stack up against 11 other ones.
Right.
It's just...
Right.
Stubborn as a mule.
Yeah.
Two Rivers folk.
Definitely. Glad they kept that reputation intact.
Yep. Spelled it out.
That's so important. Not many things outside accent and dress can tell you where a person's from. That world building is telling us race does not matter in this world.
Just in
Right.
case you hadn't picked it up
Just
from
in ca-
seeing all
right.
the scenes of racially diverse people that actually represent the whole world. Just in case that had been missed on you. Tom's going to spell it out because
Right.
he's Bill Nye for this world.
Bill Nye the Story Guy. Tom.
And then we get the whole hair thing, and it's like, yeah, the only ginger we've seen is Rand.
Yeah. You don't see that outside the waste, except on Rand.
Except on the guy that's had like half the screen time so far.
Yeah. I love seeing new viewers speculate about who's the Dragon Reborn.
Yeah, I'm like, come on, Ginger Jeezy's Atreides. It's not that hard.
We also, this was very reassuring to me.
Yes.
So we have to talk about the leaked trailer, well, not trailer, leaked, but not the leaked scene, but the trailer scene where we get the Blood Snow, and we see who
Shael.
I'm going to call Shael killing the Captain General of the Companions.
Yeah.
Lord General, whatever his title is. And she is not veiled. And so we're like, are they changing that? Is that not happening? So apparently either it comes off during the battle, or maybe as someone who is not native Aiel, she doesn't necessarily cover her face up. Or maybe it's just by surprise. Something. But he very much says the veil is a thing the Aiel do.
And shows us what it looks like. And I lots of tension released when we got that line.
Gotcha.
And I just love how quiet that is, and how Matt just full cards on the table.
Yeah.
Just like, this exchange is so raw and honest. And it's like, if I don't get a whole season of these two traveling having shenanigans, I will be very disappointed.
I also love the way they subverted expectations. Because you expect me, like, what are you doing here? It's like, I'm here to, steal. He's like, no, boy, you don't rob from the dead. You respect the dead, or something. He's like, and no. He's like, okay, go ahead. Like, that threw me for a loop. I was just like, whoa, okay, yeah, no. I applauded that. That was like, that is a brave decision to have this sort of moral character that was here to bury that man, say, go ahead and steal him. I see that you're desperate.
But he drives the lesson home.
Yeah.
He's like, this is not a light thing you are doing. Mm-hmm. You are in a desperate state, and I'm going to drive home to you. You are so desperate, you're stealing from the dead. Like, you're going to learn from this.
At what point do you think Tom believes that Matt is the Dragon Reborn? When do you think he starts picking up on that?
As soon as he hears Dina say it's one of you.
Mm.
I think as he's overhearing that conversation shortly before he chooses to throw the knife, I think that at that point he figures that the one who's caught his eye of the pair is the one,
yeah. And also the one who's struggling with a little bit of insanity.
Right. It's desperate, snappish, ragged.
So when does Matt steal the money back from Tom?
When he shakes hands. You see it in the eyes. And then Matt does the morally correct thing by staying to bury the guy.
Yes.
Because that's a Matt thing to do, is to bitch and moan about doing real work, but of course he's not going to walk away when there's a burial to be done. He'll roll his eyes, but he'll pick up a shovel. We're going to get Aiel world building with that rock.
And the respect between the two of them. And the stone dog. So he's definitely a stone dog.
A stone dog? I just thought it was some...
Right? Stone dog.
I'm not... Nope. Nodding. Half expected to find them with their clothes off at this point.
She's working on it. Like, tell me your life story.
Where you going? What you doing?
Mm-hmm. She is prying. Absolutely, she's prying. Yeah. She wants to know everything about him. She's probably... I'm wondering how much information she's getting in her dreams. I'm debating whether or not she's getting names and whether she's trying to verify.
I think she's just delaying. The easiest way to delay a young man is to just wave boobs at him.
Also to ask him about his life. Tell me about yourself.
Right, because the easiest way to flirt is to be interested in someone. And it's a delaying tactic, like you said. Like, it's a very easy way to pass the time, where he won't be thinking about how the time is passing, because there's a pretty girl who's interested in him. Love this list.
World building.
Letting us know where we're going, also.
Yeah, definitely. So we've got Stone of Tyr, Lion Throne, a Steading, and she wants to see a Trolloc.
And Trollocs, I think, is her trying to loop it back around to see if he's... that's just thrown to manipulate him. But the rest of it is letting us, the viewers, know we're going to see those three things.
Definitely. So, like, we've got a Camelin confirmed, we've got Stone of Tyr confirmed, and at some point, like, Loyal and Steadings, right? Like,
Steading, like the huge trees and all that.
I miss my Loyal. And then I love this. He just tries to do what's right, but now everything looks morally gray. He no longer has a clear compass because he doesn't know what's right and wrong. And I love that is what the Dark One's trying to do to him. He's trying to make Rand not know what's right or wrong, to break him so Veins of Gold can't happen.
Also, that's very much what Galad's struggle is. His half-brother is right from wrong.
Right. This black and white image of, That plan's failed. Time for a backup plan.
Yep.
Shut the door,
Plan B,
grab a sword.
quick.
Which, honestly, I don't really get. She could have just said goodnight and walked away, and he would have slept there. By revealing herself as a dark friend, she 100% ruined her plan.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
I feel like she just got pissed at him for rejecting her. Like, I literally think she was like, okay, you're not going to sleep with me? Fine.
I mean, she's not that much older than him. Might even be younger, right? Like, it's not like she's a seasoned badass. She's a kid, essentially. That's when I got scared. I was like, what the
Was
fuck?
it the hair?
Was it the hair?
That dress is green. Like,
Yeah.
it's that kind of line. Like,
Like,
that line is really the one that
That's
makes me look too much
creepy.
like her. And be like, ooh, that's
I
definitely
was like,
Egwene.
is this a dream? Or, like, what
No.
fucked up shit's about to happen?
As soon as she said it makes me look like her, I went, Dark Friend! That's the moment when I went, like, I didn't see it coming at all until that moment when I went, oh, that's it.
Yeah. For me, was it the hair? That was the line where I was like, dark. And then she gets to makes it look like her. I'm like, friend!
Yeah. And then the music, done.
Yeah. And then she says Egwene, and it's like, okay, this isn't
yeah.
even I wasn't sure if this was a dream yet or not.
What did she hit him with?
I
Was it
think
the-
his bow stave.
Or was it the sheathed blade?
I don't know. I didn't quite catch it. Meanwhile, Matt's off doing a good deed.
Right, yeah, it's like, never around when you need him, is he? That's the Matt. I thought he said threefold, a little odd there.
It sounds like he said freefold land.
Yeah, freefold,
It's like he's
yeah.
struggling to say three, which is like,
An odd
Okay,
cut,
dude.
yeah. And
just got his coins back.
He just stole it.
Tom just gave him the chance, and he took
Mm-hmm.
it. But then Tom acts like it was an accident.
And he immediately asks for it back after he's taken it. That's the first thing he does.
Yeah, the Deus de Mar between these two is already like 9-dimensional chess.
Nice.
Because I don't think that Tom's surprised. I think Tom puts on a whole show. Like, yeah, you got me, kid.
Right. He gave him the, but yeah.
Yeah. He gave him the chance to steal it back.
He was never intending to keep the money.
No. After he learned a little more of Matt's story, he was absolutely going to give it back.
After Matt buried the Aiel, I think he's like, oh, he's a good guy. He's going to bury the Aiel.
Right. He
Yeah.
goes through this whole thing, and he's like, I'll let you get it back.
Right here, we hear the music, and boom, the whole frame.
And she looks
warped.
weird.
Yeah. No, did you see the camera frame just warp when
Yeah.
it wasn't just the door? Everything warped
Yeah.
when he hit that door. That was
And
definitely
then it happens
power.
again. Yeah.
She's like, what the hell?
She's like, didn't expect that. And then this is that running scene that we were all so curious
We were
about
like,
who
who's
they running
chasing
from.
her? A Dark Friend was definitely in the running as an option. Like, White Cloak was one. One was just like Marin Alvear or Mistress Luan. But yeah, I thought that was...
Yeah. Also, just to skip back to Matt and Tom, don't let me catch you hanging
In a cage.
in a cage.
Yeah.
Hanging.
No, there's a couple...
Hanging.
It's the second time someone said,
Yeah,
I don't want to
yeah.
see you hanging in a cage.
Yep.
Yeah, there's some excellent foreshadowing going on here.
Yeah. But yeah, this...
Because we don't get
this
the whole noose around his neck when they try and ride through Trollocs.
Right. So they have to have it here. But this, I love how Dina is just like, I can use a sword and I can chase your asses down. She's just such a competent dark friend. She has all the competency of all the dark friends on their whole trip compressed into one person because they were all so bad at their jobs. You had to compress them all into one person to get a competent dark friend.
Like Millie Skane and Petar all together.
Pater, yeah.
Pater.
Yeah, she's very Millie Skane, but a little different.
At least it's like a Millie Skane Min combo.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Don't run with scissors. She's so demonic. Yeah, just her eyes are like...
I also love that, like, she's got a sword, run! Like, I mean, I know swords... yeah, it does feel a little... I don't know. If a sword feels a little... I know it is dangerous and everything, and, like, she could kill them with it, but it feels a little ridiculous that they couldn't just, like, overwhelm her and tackle her or something and get the sword away from her. But
again, they're not trained at all for battle. No. They have no stamina for potentially getting impaled on a sword.
Right. Like, I'd be like, what's going on? And she's the local, so anyone's going to believe that they, like, stole something or whatever, right?
Right. And she knows the back ways to get around them.
Meanwhile, Tom's been following this whole time.
Nah, I think that the dark is exactly as confused as the light about when, and Nynaeve's ambiguity, what Moiraine confirmed. I think the dark has yet to confirm that, and they think it's all 5. That means that the dark is even less certain about who's the Ta'veren or whatever. Whatever dark prophecy is leading them to that group is even more ambiguous than what the Aes Sedai are working with.
Oh, and Catherine brings up a good point. That's why she wasn't killed on Winter Night, because she's one of the 5.
Yes, very much. I think we thought of that on our last recording, possibly, or maybe somewhere else. But yes, that is why she isn't killed right away. That's why she is kidnapped. Mm-hmm. Surprising that Egwene didn't get kidnapped in that very same moment, but...
Because I assume the Trollocs also dream of the 5 faces, so they would have recognized the 4 or 5 of them, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but at this point, Dana's getting visions. It has to be Nynaeve. It has to be. And also, it's the Min thing. She's part of it. Min delivers the line that Nynaeve is part of it and she has to come with them. This is Dana pulling in that no, Nynaeve is part of it.
Right, totally. Okay, I have to ask about that. Last time someone brought the dragon to the Dark One, we still remember his name 3,000 years on. So it gives us a time frame. 3,000 years ago, that was the breaking. It gives us a name, Ishamael, and he brought the dragon. Now, I've seen people say that means that Ishamael was the dragon, and no, that's not what she's saying.
I thought that's what she said the first time. I thought that she was naming the dragon as Ishamael, and then when I watched it, I heard better what she was saying.
It's the man who brought the dragon. Yeah. So that makes me wonder, did Ishamael bring Lewis Theron to the dragon to create the seal? Was there, like, collaboration there? Like, what the hell? Like, when she says brought the dragon to the Dark One, she doesn't mean, like, maybe she means through the corruption of the taint?
Yeah, I don't know what to think about this quote, because if the dragon is truly brought to the Dark One, then the world ends. Oh. The wheel is broken.
I think we're dealing with unreliable narrator. I like Deviko is saying, this is Ishamael basically saying, I am the one who am responsible for conquering the Dark One, and he's telling all the Dark Friends that when it's total bullshit.
Yeah. And in so many ways, many of the more superficial aims of the Dark One and the Dark Friends were accomplished, right? The Age of Legends was ended. Cities were leveled. People were killed in their millions. The entire male half of the Source was poisoned. The world was changed. Like, the amount of chaos and destruction that the dragon brought to a low-tier Dark Friend looks like the dragon being turned to the dark side. It's only the people at the highest levels of the philosophy that are more understanding of what really needs to happen. So in many ways, the dragon was turned. He went insane and broke the world. That's a pretty Dark One style victory. So yeah, unreliable narrator, propaganda. I don't think that this is at all canonically true to the world. This is just what she believes.
Yeah, and being reasons. As she says 3,000 years, I think she has to be referring to the events of the breaking. She's not referring to an earlier dragon.
Correct. Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I love that we've now got Ishamael introduced. Like, we've had this weird, mysterious silence with flaming eyes. Now we have a name.
Up. Yeah. So very astute readers could match up the person who's doing the dreams with the fiery eyes with Ishamael and, like, bring that together.
This idea that there are big, bad magic people to come. This is the hint of the Forsaken. And I think this is about when Tom is dropping his knife into his sleeve, being like, From fishermen to queens. I'm going to be suspicious of every Fisher person and every queen. The whole series. If they're a Fisher person or a queen, I don't trust them.
Suan?
Who is basically both?
Yeah.
Now I don't trust Suan, and I'm not okay with that.
Dark friend Amerlin's seat? What a twist.
Oh, I can't.
The wheel keeps turning and people keep hurting.
This is Rand's. Sorry.
This is on the mountain. This is what he struggles with. Like, how do you stop the hurt? You stop the world.
Yep.
And that's what they are. And then it's like, no. Again, the philosophy is you go back to Tam and we are born to do better. And so we've been introduced to both sides of those philosophy. Tam on one side of we are born every time and reborn to do better than last time, versus the pain will never end, which is basically Ishamael and Tam as the angel and devil sitting on Rand's shoulders.
Yeah, for sure.
And this is the civilization in decline that we see, right? Like,
this is the end times.
This is the end times. Very much is the end times. Things are declining and have been for thousands of years.
This is Ingtar's argument.
Yep. That make it stop.
Yeah.
That's the plea of someone. Yeah, that's Ishi. I think at that moment when she says the eyeless, Tom's like, oop, and this bitch is dead. Boom.
Yep. Yeah, once he knows what the plan is, that's when he kills her. He lets her do her evil villain monologue until he's got the critical information, then takes her out. Also, knife blooms in the throat. What a tall move.
And also, if he'd missed, the two boys are standing right on the other side of her.
I hadn't thought of that. He throws a knife right at them, and it just happens to land in her. It could have landed in if he was a dark friend. This is how we know he's not a dark friend. So if he was a dark friend, he would have been incapacitating the boys.
Knife to me.
Knife to me.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Randa's like, I have had one conversation with you and you have now killed someone. I'm not okay. I love that Matt is the one who is more bound up with Tom. Because in the books, it's Rand being like, he's fine. And Matt's like, I have the dagger. I don't trust anyone.
Right. But Matt is really suffering from the effects of the madness of the dagger, which is what Tom is sensing, I think. Or it certainly does later. Also,
it's my best knives.
Getting your dagger back.
Gotta do that. And I love Matt. East is good. East is good.
Also, like, hey, another protector, right? Moraine's gone.
Yeah. And so if they leave from here, does that mean that this is where Rand loses his bow? And his coat? And, like, does he have his bow?
Yeah. I guess his coat appears to be left.
I mean,
they don't go back to the inn.
It seems like they wouldn't go back. And that means he lost his bow and his coat, and he's just got his sword. Check that in
episode 4 to see if he's got anything.
Yeah.
Also the scabbard, right? Like.
Yeah, totally. Maybe they must just sneak back.
They must go back. Yeah.
And then they've headed southwest. They're now not heading east anymore. They're way off the track.
So that takes them directly south of where they were before, right? Which is where.
Oh yeah.
If they were heading east and now they're heading southwest. They're reducing some of that eastward movement. And Leandrin comes walking down the lane. Whew.
God, she's intense.
Not necessarily a happy reunion.
No, there is some tension here.
And those jaws.
She reminds me of one of the actors who played the Master in Doctor Who so much.
Are those cheekbones played up at all?
Oh, yeah. The makeup artists on this show love their cheekbones. It's a theme.
And the introduction of the Warders and Logain. I mean, there's so many characters that we really get to know in the 4th episode after this.
And the Logain theme, which is so good. Broody boy.
Yeah. So I mean, we get that there are 7 total Aes Sedai in the, or 7. I guess there's 9 in the party because there's 7 out front plus the 2 in the cage guarding him. Anyway, that's next episode information.
Oh my god, it's just so good. It's so good. It's so good. The important question, is that Bella with them? Because Nynaeve's riding a horse that is not Aldib and is not Mandarb.
Oh, yep.
There we go.
That's not Bella. Or,
No, it's not. I don't think it is. Some random horse. I need to know that Bella's okay. We all need to know that Bella is okay.
Bella was in Shadow Logoth and then ran away, but we haven't seen her since.
Nope.
I believe
the horses all take off after the one horse gets toasted. They all take off. So I know Bella's okay. I just need to know where she is and when she revisits the story to save our heroes.
Canonically, she's with Perrin and Egwene.
Right.
Which is why they're doing so much better in the book than they are in the show.
Yeah.
Because they have the supplies, they have the transportation. Yeah. So that's interesting that he chose not to give Bella to those. Because that would have been easy to do, right? Because Bella could have easily found them shortly thereafter. And then they could have been running from the wolves on the horse, right? Like...
Yeah.
Interesting that they took Bella out of that section.
Yeah. She's going to show up again somewhere. They know how important she is. There's been articles written that mention Bella. They know how we will feel.
Well, thank you so much. That was amazing. I feel like we pulled out so many details out of that thing.
3 hours worth.
Again, I thought... What did I say? Famous last words before we started this? We're going to get through this one quicker.
It was going to be 240.
Yeah, 240.
I mean, yeah. But yes, thank you everyone so much for joining us. This has been a delight. I cannot wait for you to start seeing our published episodes when they come out. None of them are out yet, but we just finished recording number 3. We will be getting to number 4 in a couple of days. And this is just really fun. We're pulling so much out. I'm appreciating so much more. This is great. So remember to like and comment and subscribe and review. Definitely go review the show. Go rewatch the show.
What she said.
Go have a snack. It's good for you.
Go take a walk.
Yeah, go stretch. You just listen to us for 3 hours. You probably need to go stretch.
And you're probably sitting in front of a computer or something. That's because you're watching this. So unlike the podcast where you can go walk while you're doing it.
Yeah. So go take a stretch and remember to subscribe and come back shortly for the next video that we're going to be publishing on episode 4.
And episode 4
from when
is
this comes out.
a doozy.
Spoilers!
Yeah. And this is a bit of a voiceover intro with the forest. Whatever comes, face it on your feet. Yeah. So, I mean, this is a training session. It doesn't look like the White Tower grounds to me.
No, it looks like it's just somewhere out there in the world.
Do you think it's like back in the earlier days of the Warders, maybe?
Either way, there's no way to say. I don't feel like we get any distinguishing physical features from any of the characters to tell us when this happened.
Fair.
Blood and ashes.
Nice. Love the curse words. That was the staff. That was the farmer with the staff beating the man with the sword.
Which immediately suggests to me that they're cutting Matt kicking the shit out of Gawain and Galad. Which is a bummer, if I'm right.
I had the same thought. Being as we haven't had Galad or Gawain cast, that kind of, maybe it makes sense. I'm not sure how much of them we're going to see or if we're going to see whatever. But the point is, it looks like that scene won't be in it. It would be weird to have it both animated here and then reenacted later where Hammer gives the whole speech. Or
maybe he doesn't give the speech. Maybe we just see the staff fight and there's just a knowing glance and a murmur of that one guy's name. I think they cut it I'm really hoping that that's what they want me to think, and then they're going to surprise me by not cutting it. Because that, I feel like, would be on par with the way that they have played with my expectations so far.
Totally.
Also, it gives us the real-world swears, or the in-world swears, which is fun.
Well, warders in a courtyard, without any Aes Sedai around, those are the people who are going to swear.
Yeah.
And that's straight out of the story. That might as well have been read word for word from the books. We didn't react because it's like, yes, this is the story of Jerome.
It's just,
yeah.
This is how Hamar delivers it. This is us seeing it in all of its mythic, sketchy glory. It's just like, oh, this is nice.
I love how true they are to the books in these animated shorts. They are really telling the lore of the books, the history of the books, without changing a thing. Because in the animation, there's no budget restraints. They're just, yes, we are doing it word for word, beat for beat. And it's what's nice about it is we talk about how, Rafe has proven to us over and over again that he knows the heart of this material. And by putting this out and saying, yes, this is the lore, I'm setting my foot down, I'm drawing a line, this is the lore we are building from, it gives me a lot of faith in the world. When he talks about the spine of the world, these are the things that I see. The legends, the myths, the history.
He gets it.
He gets it.
Like capital G gets it. And it's beautiful to see.
Love that. Respect the wielder, not the weapon.
A line that could have been in the books. It isn't.
No.
Could have been.
But that's sort of Lan thinks of himself as the weapon, not the sword. Rand thinks that there's definitely a time where, Lan moves necessarily without whipping his sword out a few times.
Yeah.
And uses himself as the weapon.
Yeah. I love everything about that. Because, like you said, it's mostly straight out of the book. And then where it's not, it could be. Mm-hmm. It really, it's the spirit of the books just happening to spurt out of someone else's typewriter.
Yeah.
Instead of Robert Jordan's.
Interesting. I thought the staff was shorter than I imagined. I imagine a staff, I think it's described in the books as like a head taller than Matt. But that staff was maybe 4 feet, 5 feet.
Yeah, that is
at the
interesting.
Longest.
That is an interesting change. I don't pay much attention to weapon dimensions, but you're right that it is described as being taller than him.
And that guy was definitely using a staff that was like not much longer than this.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Well, when I do martial arts, our staves are about 5 feet long. Yeah. So just slightly shorter than me.
And it does seem a staff taller than you would be slightly unwieldy for spinning and whipping around like that. The way he talks about, it seems like you'd have to keep it fairly horizontal. It would be hard to do an overhead strike because the damn thing would hit the floor between your legs. Right.
And Grace is asking in chat, a staff, not a quarterstaff. I have no idea what the difference is between a staff and a quarterstaff. Are these
one's a quarter's
version
length
of the same, or no? That's clearly empirically not what it is. But is a
4 quarterstaffs make a staff? Why is this complicated?
Okay, engineer who can't fucking fight. I don't know the difference there. I'm sure that a billion people are angrily yelling at
we don't know our weapons that well. Yeah.
But it's still cool to have that whole staff over swordsman thing. And then it's funny that he still refers back to who's the greatest swordsman. Mm-hmm. It's still Jerome. The fact that he was defeated by his father with a quarterstaff doesn't take away from the fact that he was still the greatest swordsman. That's the end message. More or less same thing. A wooden staff, an approximate length between 2 and 25 meters. I'm thinking that's 2 and 2.5 meters, not 25. I think a period got missed there.
That's what I would guess as well.
Tipped with iron, used as a weapon in the rural England early modern period. While a staff is more like a walking stick. So basically the same thing. There's
one's got an iron tip on it and is a little longer, it seems like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's not a really dramatic, important difference that will get SCA people down my throat. So that's cool. One is more suited for hitting people than the other, but they're both sticks. So So my husband and I were watching it, and I showed him all the other animated shorts first last night after we watched episode 4. And I showed him all the other ones. And I'm like, and then there's this one that I didn't really like and you probably won't care for, because he hadn't really been super plussed about the other ones. He was like, okay, whatever, the Fall of Manethra and the Breaking, whatever. He didn't really care. I showed him this one. He fucking loved it. Mm-hmm. He thought it was super cool. And I was like, this is the one I liked least. It's the one you like most.
Well, you like at least
a never reader
because of the implications.
I just thought it was the least meaningful. The flashback with it, I don't know why I didn't like it. Maybe I'm just biased because I think they're taking away a good scene. Maybe that's it.
But I see what I like is establishing the lore of blade masters and swords, and like that is so important to the fighting. Like I really do think. Whereas they've established the one power with Sidene and Sidar, they've established the breaking, they've established Netherin. Like that's some history and some lore about, and I think what they're trying to do here is really talk about like why is sword fighting and sword forms going to be important going forward. Especially with an episode that, the next one's much more centered around the warders, with them around the campfire. But it's nice to get sort of that introduction to the warders and their culture.
It does set up the idea that warders have a culture and have a coherent sense of historical import, just like the Aes Sedai. That is very important. Hashtag not a cult.
We're not a cult. Now everybody do this.
Could be like that one, like next gen or original Star Trek, where they're like, "This is our prayer gesture. This does not mean we're enslaved."
Welcome to the Wheel of Time prayer session. Let me begin by saying, "A wind arose." Everyone join me. Now picture a rosebud. Okay, go ahead. There you go. Okay, let's get into this since we are actually recording, and we don't want to record for 3 hours today. We have a slightly tighter session planned. Should only be 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast. Rate us in the Apple Podcast app or
support us on Patreon. Is that good enough?